TikTok, time to rock. I love that photo of Al. I love that photo of Al. I think it's fantastic. How's it going, guys?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up?
What's up?
Les.
It's my pleasure, gentlemen, to introduce to you myself from New Zealand. On the top row here, we have John C. from the States, Jimmy V from the States, and Les Paul, bro. We haven't seen you for a couple of shows. Good to have you back on with us.
Thank you. Good to be back.
All right.
Yeah, we're representing the Northeast United States. We have Connecticut, New York, and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Philly.
Forget about it.
We're global. We're global, and that's what matters. This is
Forget
the thing. This is the thing about the music we follow, bros. It's global.
Cool, yeah.
It's yeah.
And Hamilton, New
good-
Zealand.
Hamilton, New Zealand, brother. Yeah, Hamilton, New Zealand. You got it. And we've got a connection. We've got a connection. Maybe we can talk about that connection later on. But
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
yeah. We've got a couple of things, folks, that we want to have a chat about. And as usual, if there's anything that you want to talk about in the chat that's related to anything that we're talking about and sharing, we're happy to post that and let you have a chance to mention anything that's related to the subject. Jimmy, what have you been up to lately? You've been celebrating a milestone.
I have, yeah. This year is my band celebrating 10 years of playing. And, obviously that started back in like 2013. I think I've told that story before where we got together. It was completely, it was me and completely three different guys, but, we kind of gave it a shot. And I don't know, if you told me at that point that I'd be doing it 10 years later, probably wouldn't believe you. But we got a big show coming up June, the 20th around. I think we played our first show when back in 2013. We had our very first show. We were opening up for this Queensryche tribute band, and I don't know. At the time, we had about 20 songs together, and we never played them live in front of an audience and stuff. And I remember being nervous and all that, but surprisingly, it lasted 10 years, and we're doing pretty good. I just booked. I don't know if anybody's out there in like Syracuse land, but we booked a show at a theater up in Syracuse for next year, the Westcott Theater, and so we're gonna be road tripping it. I don't know, so yeah. Well, you got 10 years under our belts, and just trying to present some Van Halen. Like I've said before, we don't really dress up like them or anything, but we try to play the music right, and we've got from the very beginning, my idea was that we play like a full night ourselves, because if you've ever had to play with like another band, there's a lot of logistics that I just don't feel like dealing with. Whose drums are going to use? This guy doesn't want to use this guy's drums, and what PA? What's the who's getting paid? It was I hate that, right?
It gets a bigger sound check.
Yeah, it's like it adds another layer of BS. So from the very beginning, it was like we have to have enough songs to play a full night, right? And that's what we do. We on a given night, we'll play at least 35 songs, between 35 and 40 and stuff. So it's a lot easier, and you don't have to worry about, you can just book you're autonomous in a sense. You don't have to rely on getting gigs with other bands and having to deal with that stuff. So it's worked out in the sense that, when we started, I don't think there was another band that played that many songs. Like most bands played you come in and they do like 15, 17 songs, maybe 20 or whatever.
Maybe 8.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I'm happy to have, had it last 10 years, and who knows? You know, just trying to keep it going. And guys I got now are terrific. We all got along. You know, everybody's just normal. That's what I tell you know, when that's what I tell people. Like if we play a new room and I'm talking to like the booker or the manager or something, I'm like, look, you have to understand, we're normal dudes. I was saying this to the sound guy at the last show, a really cool dude. This guy was saying that he did sound for the Pretenders and Queen and stuff like that. He was older, a really good dude. So now I was telling him, look, like, you know, we come here, we play, and we try not to cause any trouble. You know what I mean? We try not to cause any trouble, and we play our stuff and go home. You know, it's really it. We're just looking to have some fun because, like, you never know. This whole thing, and I think about this a lot. This whole thing could just end. You know, somebody might get sick. Something might happen to somebody, or you know. And you just got to live in the moment and enjoy it. And
Well, that's the point, Jimmy. That's the point. 10 years.
Like my guys, case in point, next week we're doing this benefit, right? And you know we're not getting paid or anything, but you know, so my guys are, you know, there was what I just said because initially I kind of like signed on thinking that it was just going to be kind of us, but then they started adding some more acts, so we're going on at like 6:00. And you know, I told my guys, look, you know, we're gonna go there. You know, we're gonna have some fun. If we go on at 6:00, great. If something happens, we go on at 6:30, great. It's like it's not these little things aren't worth sweating over. We're just gonna go there, gonna have some fun. They're gonna feed us and stuff, and there's gonna be like free beer or whatever. It's like a good it's a good cause.
No brown M&Ms, dude.
Yeah, but like it's you kind of have to. What I think I'm trying to say is like you have to keep stuff in perspective. Like we're not curing cancer here. It's just a stupid rock band. That's all it is. And like if something happens, like I try to and I try to go there at a gig and be in a great mood every time. And like most of my guys are like that too. We all show up. We're happy to be there. We like each other. We get along. That's the other thing about being like in a tribute band, right? Is a sense that you don't have to fight over songs. Like, like if you want to be in this band, obviously you're going to like Van Halen, right? So if somebody's like, hey, let's do this song, great. Whereas before, like I was in like an 80s metal band, 80s, metal, like hair band thing. And it's like, hey, let's do Winger. Nah, I don't want to do that song. It's a whole other thing. But now nobody even talks. We just talk, oh, you want, yeah, let's do this. Oh, let's do that, Anyway.
Congratulations, bro, because 10 years is a wonderful achievement, John. I don't know about you, but I haven't spent 10 months in a band. John.
No, I could never get along with anybody for 10 years.
Well,
10 weeks maybe, but
I give it 10 days.
Well, the thing is, like, those guys have to get along with me for 10 years because I'm the only original guy.
Congrats to them.
But in my own defense, okay. So another good example is this: when I got presented the Syracuse show, right? I went to my guys, right, and I go, listen, we have this opportunity to play Syracuse, this theater, right? And I'm like, listen, like, I want to do it. But if somebody does not, and somebody in this band does not, I kind of run the show, but it's not a dictatorship, right? I mean, what you're going to force somebody to go to Syracuse? That's ridiculous, right? So I told him, I go, listen, here's the opportunity. I think it'd be a good opportunity for us. Blah, blah. I presented my case, right? But I'm like, look, if somebody doesn't want to do it, it's like all in or we're not doing it. Like, you don't want to go. I mean, you don't want to drive 4.5 hours and have somebody in a bad mood because you're forcing them to be there, which is ridiculous. You know what I mean? So in my defense, I kind of present these opportunities, but like if whoever it is, like if they don't want to do it, then we don't do it. You know what I mean? Especially in something like this isn't like just driving, 30 minutes to some gig. This is a commitment. So you don't want to be in a car with somebody for 9 hours, back and forth. If they're not into it. So so I am the leader in the sense that I organize everybody. Like when we have rehearsal, I tell them, look, just a reminder, like I send out a reminder, like we'll talk about like what songs we only really rehearse like 3 or 4 times a year, really, just to learn new songs. And we'll figure out like, hey, usually give them a month. Hey, let's do like right now we were kind of working on Mine All Mine. And I'm like, look, so I give them like a month or something to like work it up. And then like a week before, I'm like, hey, just remember, man, we got, rehearsal next week. We're going to do this and that. So it's really just, it's really just organizing people, really. You know what I mean? But I lucked out. I got a great group of guys. So here we are 10 years later, and let's hopefully we can do another 10.
Well, Jimmy, what do I always say to you? I go, enjoy this time, right? Take pictures, film this stuff. So when you're an old man, you get to look back on like, 10, 15 years, you're going to play Syracuse, playing all over these great places, these great gigs. And, you got a lot of good stuff to look back on too. So you should, enjoy it now because, and it doesn't last forever, as we all know,
Yeah. And Conch reminded me just now, we booked like when at that place where John played with us, we booked another 4 gigs for next year. So Conch, man, we got to work up some more stuff. We have some ideas.
We have some ideas.
Yeah. We have some ideas. Yeah. Anyway, but thank you. Yeah, there was a point there where I think it was like within about a year and a half of the band, we had a completely different singer, and he was all right, but it wasn't really working out, but not enough to the point where you'd get rid of him.
Sure.
And I remember we were doing this thing outdoors, and this gig outdoors with some other bands, and this was like a year and a half into it. He was going to leave, and he something about like work, and he was gonna, his shifts were gonna change or something. Anyway, so he was gonna leave. So I remember that day, and I'm like, what am I gonna do now? Like, I have to go find another singer, and I mean, do I go back and play, 80s rock like I used to or whatever? And we were actually talking about this last night with my current singer, and a buddy of mine was like, hey man, you got to get in touch with Mark, the guy that's with me now. And I reached out to him, and I kind of knew of him, and he showed up to our to like our the rehearsal or the tryout or whatever, and I gave him like 5 songs to kind of go over, and each 5 of them had like different things that I wanted to see in a singer, right? And the dude nailed it. We ended up playing like another 20 songs that night that he knew right off the top of his head. And, he's been in there ever since. And, John knows him. And he's been with us ever since. And I got a good, thankfully got a good bunch of guys. Anyway, I'll talk about that now.
You really do. They're all like easygoing, laid back. Everybody seems to get along. It's just like, they don't seem to get excited about, anything, just kind of like, they roll with everything, Your drummer is like always smiling.
Always smiling, yeah.
They are a real good bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's
awesome. Hey, I've just got to ask you guys something too. I've just seen a comment in the chat. So this is Memorial Weekend in the States for you guys. So
Yes.
Yep.
that's an important date for everybody. It's Anzac Day here in New Zealand and Australia. It's April the 22nd. So we should, because we're all patriots, we all should recognize the men and women who served and fought for the United States and freedom in the past, and all those who continue to serve today. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, can't forget that.
Yeah. You hear so many great stories on like Memorial Day weekend about like, they just found the remains of this pilot and they talked to like the children of his people that were on the plane with him that he was flying, the B-17, and it crashed somewhere in France, I think. And they pointed out that, look, this guy wouldn't be here if he didn't. They said he was flying the plane. It was almost upside down, I guess, just so that they could all bail out. And he died. He died in the plane, and they finally found his remains. But it's just like saying that it's like these people wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that guy that, you know, they finally found his remains at Bravery. So, you know, and these kids are like 18, 20 years old. So it's like mind blowing. Today, an 18 or 20-year-old, you know, they can't even, you know, get out of bed and get to work on time. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just amazing, you know? So
I served when I served in the Air Force, like Memorial Day, we'd always do like parades and stuff, and it was great. I kind of miss it, you know. I don't do it anymore because I'm retired, but it was always neat to talk to the people that, you know, that lost people in the wars and stuff, that had people that served their fathers and stuff like that. So it's pretty amazing.
it
Yeah.
definitely is.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I know
And,
in
you
the
know,
state,
it's an
I'm sorry.
important part of who we are. Yeah. Yeah. I'll always celebrate it. So yeah, well done, everybody.
And not to, like, you know, lighten the mood, but Jerry was right.
What the
Sorry,
hell was that?
my dog is like destroying the house. Jerry was right in the chat. 40 years of US Festival, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
What a time, man. What a time.
I had that poster as a kid.
What a time, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that
was
poster,
just-
right? I
Yep.
think it was on the side of a freeway or the freeway or something like that, on a hill on the side of a freeway. So they took that.
Yeah, you can see,
It might
you can
be in
see
Craig
the
Ren-
outtakes. Yeah.
Greg Renoff put that, I think, in maybe the Templeman book or something like that. But
Yeah.
it was just like, yeah,
I think I
Pretty-
saw him in some. There was a Zlow's interview, and he had that Ari. He had that you know, shown where it's like you can see the full picture, and they're like,
Right.
yeah, we're on the side of a freeway or something.
Yeah.
literally.
yeah.
Crazy.
Awesome. Hey, Johnny, we've got more than 10 people in the chat now. Do you want to do a shout out to everybody that's here? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Jimmy Ray Hawkins. Hey, Jimmy Ray. He's here hopefully for a bit, hopefully longer. Let's see, Greg Roberts. We got Johnny Heartbreaker. Got Nightbot. Nightbot's always here every week. Let's see, Tim Thomas.
Hey, brother.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
I got Siri talking to me right now. Hold on a second. Let me get rid of her. Let's see who else we got. Tim Thomas, John Z351, as you say, Z. Let's see, Mikey Mojo, Jerry Leica.
Mikey.
Hey Jerry. Let's see,
Great.
Catnip Dealer.
That's my brother.
That's your brother.
Oh, that's his bro.
That's my brother. Yeah.
What's up, blesses, bro? Tanner Lee Roth. Hey y'all, sorry I'm late. And I think that's
Nice.
everybody. Did I miss anybody?
Fantastic. Hey,
So
talking about the 40th anniversary of the US Festival, guys. Did you guys catch up and watch the first couple of episodes of the Van Halen docu-series?
Yes.
we did.
John, you start.
You know, I'm going to say something positive about it. You know, I got to give the guy a lot of credit for the fact that, which I, you know, at first I didn't think of it, and then I thought of it, and I even sent him a message. I go, hey man, I go, you know, you didn't have hours of footage from a vault, Warner Brothers or Van Halen vault, or audio to do this. I go, you know, all the information and stuff that you sourced, it's like, you know, it was out there. He even said, yeah, anybody could have got any of the information I got. You know, unfortunately, he didn't have access to all that kind of stuff. But you know, when you look at it from that viewpoint, and you know, it's pretty cool what he put together like that. My only problem, and I called him out on it, and I told him about it, and he said a very valid point was in there. He put a little clip about in the second the US Festival one about how, you know, Van Halen went basically from playing at the US Festival in front of 250,000 people, and 12 years later they were opening, you know, a hair band. They had to open for a hair band, meaning Bon Jovi. And I said, that's completely not fair. That always drives me crazy, and I'll fight with anybody about that. And he said that his insider, the Van Halen insider, you know, for the documentary, had the same complaint that I had. He goes, "So you're in good company." My whole point is, you know, Van Halen opened up for Bon Jovi in 1985 in Europe on like 2 weeks of festival dates. But you know, when you read the whole backstory to it, you know, on the surface, it looks like, oh my gosh, Van Halen's opening for Bon Jovi. That's, you know, and John Bon Jovi treated it that way and went around apparently bragging to everybody that Van Halen is my opening band and stuff like that. And I think Eddie went to his hotel room and was pounding on the door. I think he wanted to punch him in the face. And even Michael Anthony, I always say, who's, you know, never says a bad word about anything. He even has said that it was not a good experience. That whole thing, you know, it was a bad idea. So Ray Daniels, the manager that everybody hates, you know, from Van Halen, who actually came off looking pretty good, I thought, in Chris Gill's book. He seemed pretty reasonable, you know, in there. But, you know, he gets blamed for a lot of stuff. But I guess what happened here was that Bon Jovi's manager offered Van Halen like a sweetheart deal where basically they would ship all of Van Halen's equipment from the United States to Europe. They'd foot the bill for all of that, shipping all Van Halen stuff there. Van Halen would be able to use their full lighting, I guess, apparently, and the PA. And so basically it was a no-brainer. Van Halen, you know, was saving tons of money. They were promoting Balance. So they went over there for a couple of weeks, played festival shows. They just had to open it for Bon Jovi. It you know, it got ugly because of Bon Jovi's ego, obviously. And a lot of, you know, I fought with people about it before, but all people need to know is that Van Halen was touring. They weren't on their way down. Oh, you know, like 12 years later, Van Halen had to open for Bon Jovi. That's a bunch of BS because it was 1995. Grunge was king. Nirvana was king. That kind of music, Van Halen's music was out of style already, but they were touring on a number one Billboard top 200 album. Balance was like a number one for 3 weeks on there. And it's a triple platinum album. So it's like anybody who says, oh, Van Halen was opening for Bon Jovi, it's all semantics and it's not.
Johnny,
totally
Johnny, I agree with you, and I'm just going to make this quick point before I throw it over to Jimmy and Les Paul to make some comments. I'm going to agree with exactly everything that Jerry has said. Newbies will dig it, but it also goes to prove that the subject, this band, deserves a fuller, well-researched documentary later on. You know, this is just the appetizer, I think, of something that could potentially come later on that's going to answer all these questions. Jimmy.
I kind of knew of this guy. He did a really good doc on Steve Vai, and you can find it on YouTube.
Yep.
And,
That was a great doc.
It scans, you know, all of Steve Vai's career, and I think he, you know, like this guy, he I forget his name. He did it, and then Steve Vai loved it so much that he like personally endorsed it. So
Yes.
when I heard that he was doing a Van Halen one, I was like, you know, oh, you know, great. And let's be real, okay? We are so starved for shit,
Yeah.
right? So like, you know, this was all over Van Halen Kingdom or whatever you want to call it, right? And
Yeah.
and I thought, you know, I watched it, and it was like in the same style as the Steve Vai one, which I dig. And you know, like Conk said, like, you know, I was thinking about it before I even watched it. I'm like, is there really gonna there was some information that I'd either forgotten or kind of didn't know there that I'll get to in a little bit, but it's like, unless, you know, somebody opens up the vaults or has access to something that we have never seen, it's going to be stuff that we've seen, that we kind of know about, right? Now, I kind of dug the whole thing. Like he did this thing on like a blueprint of like 5150, and he kind of went into the whole thing of how it was built. And yeah, I knew 5150 was police code, blah, blah, blah. But he kind of mentions that Don Landee kind of came up with that, which I didn't really know. The US Festival one was cool. I love the whole, you know, David Lee Roth versus the Clash thing, you know, and there was a story there that I didn't know about with, you know, should I be talking about this, or is there like a spoiler thing?
No, No,
It's already
talk
out, I
about
mean.
it, bro.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we-
There was a bit there where there was that quote from Joe Strummer how cool Eddie was. You know, that was cool. You know, Eddie walked into like their room and like was cool, and Joe Strummer mentioned that in an interview. But yeah, I mean, and yeah, that I agree with Conks that that Bon Jovi thing was a bit of BS, kind of. Small. It's what are you gonna do? But so I'm looking forward to the other parts, and I remember. I think it was the day that he was going to release them. He hadn't released them yet, but I think it was the morning of, and he was again. I follow him. We're friends on Facebook or whatever, and I saw he was posting something about like, hey guys, send prayers that nobody shuts this down from like Van Halen, and it's like seriously, like I would be. I mean, I would be seriously upset at this band if they shut that down. Here's some guy that's just trying to do something. Like what? Like that would really have pissed me off if that happened. Not
Well,
not
well,
because, not
well,
because
Jimmy, this is where it becomes a little bit interesting, having posted a few videos on our channel over the years. So obviously it's got nothing to do with the band. We know that. But the interesting thing was they could have closed him down for just showing footage. We've had videos banned not because of the music that we've played, because of the what is it, the copyright on the footage. So that could have been a real big issue with the guy too, and it could be maybe with the other 4 or 5 other episodes, Jimmy, coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I thought it was really good. There wasn't a lot that there wasn't any groundbreaking information really, but like we kind of knew that ahead of time. I think everybody did.
I thought it was good. Like you said, Jim, I've seen the Vidoc and he did a great job on that. And it was nice how he kept it interesting, and he didn't dwell on too many parts. He kind of kept it moving. The pace was really good on it. I like the stuff about, the Dweezil and, Steve or Ed going over to Frank's house and then Vi showing up. I remember seeing pictures of Vi and Eddie at NAMM, and people like, oh, the two kings finally meeting. I'm like, nah, they've known each other. They've met before, So I thought that was cool. And it was kind of neat to, with the beginnings of 5150, like how they made it, and the laws of owning a studio back then were as interesting. A lot of people don't know that. I thought that was always pretty cool. And then, how 5150 came about with the equipment, and that they built it while they were on tour. I forgot about that. And I thought that was really pretty interesting, like Val being there serving drinks. I was like, that's pretty cool tidbit. A lot of small stuff that really makes it what it is. And, I remember I have that magazine with the layout of 5150 of like the dimensions and stuff. And I'm like, man, what a tiny ass studio, but
did you
I'm
pace
like,
it
hey,
out? Did you pace it out, Les? Did you pace those measurements out? Did you?
Yeah. I remember I had that article in the magazine, and I think I still have it, and it's pretty cool. It seemed like there's a few more things in there that wasn't there, but that's fine. But yeah, I'll look to see what else he has. But it's kind of like, hey, this guy's doing this from a lot of good articles and stuff that's already out there, which is cool. So it's kind of like he's organizing it to a nice doc, just like he did with the Vi one. There's some stuff I didn't know about Vi that was on there that was pretty cool, and that was a huge Vi guy. But yeah, it's cool. I think it's neat to like half the younger guys won't even know who Lindsay Wagner is, which is funny.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
fucking Bionic Woman. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That I forgot she lived next door to those guys. I didn't know that Ed bought her out though. I thought that was pretty interesting.
I had heard that before, but that was one of the things that I was like, oh yeah.
And then see, it's just a small little facts like that it's not like this has to do with what guitar Eddie used or they were here when they recorded. It's just small stuff of what things were back then.
Yeah.
Well, to that point, Les, in the chat,
Yeah.
two things. So we had Tanner in there saying he should have watched our 2-part 1984 show.
Yeah, I saw him post that.
Could have gleaned a lot of info off that. And while on that subject, Tanner had just talked to me today. Apparently, it wasn't until after the US Festival that I think he said Hot for Teacher wasn't recorded. He figured that until after the US Festival. And really, they didn't. Now it's looking like until the whole summer, they really didn't turn it on until like September to really get this album finished. There was like, it was crazy. The timeline, apparently the summer is like almost like they took a lot of the summer off, or I don't know what they were doing up there because they weren't finishing things. And I guess they really turned it on in September to get the album done there. That's one point. Tanner put that in there. Tanner Lee Roth put that in the chat.
Yeah.
You're going to watch our show. The other one is that Jerry Leica is 100% about Zlaz. He shut Johnny Bean down, I guess, using one of his photos. And, you know, my whole thought on that is just like, you know, he's cutting off his nose to spite his face, whatever, because nobody's going to care about Van Halen if people like this, like shutting stuff down. Zlaz and people like that should work with people saying, hey guys, I'll let you use my photo on your show for, you know, purposes of, you know, you're talking about stuff, but either put a watermark over it or
give me credit
or put in the somewhere in there where people can buy prints of his photos and stuff like that. Work with people like that, but shutting people's shows down and stuff like that, it's just completely lame. And you know what? He can do that all he wants, but 20 years from now, when nobody knows who Van Halen is, it's like it's people like that, and that reasoning is why. And he's not going to be making any money at all 20 years from now. So
yeah,
good point.
It's good promotion. You know, it's good promotion.
Yeah. Keeps them alive. Keeps it alive. You know.
Yeah, it keeps the memory drive. It's interesting. I didn't know they only paid $6,000 for that console. I'm like, damn, that, you know. And I know it didn't work. I know they had to wire it up and fix it, but man, what a great.
That's $6,000 in like 1981 or 82 money. I think my dad bought his house for $3,000.
Yeah, right. Back then, right in the 70s, right? Yeah.
I'm like, you know.
Greg Roberts wants to know what's a Zlaz hour.
Yeah. He's a famous photographer, Greg, responsible for taking a lot of iconic pics of Van Halen. And that's the point, though, that John's making. You know, reach out to these guys, reach out to us and say, you know, taken by, you know, Jimmy V. You know, if Jimmy says, if you're going to use pictures of me on your show, Andrew, I want credits taken by Jimmy. Okay, Jimmy? All right. Easy.
No, I wouldn't do that to you.
Yeah.
I think it was more angering that it was Johnny B who's doing, like, basically it's a historical kind of, I mean, he's doing like forensic work, you know, with Ed's guitars and when he used, you know, what guitar, when he used it and little things about it. And he's using these photos as like photo evidence of this stuff. That's, you know, historical record kind of material for people that are into this. And, you know, 50 years from now, if people want to find out, you know, they can find this stuff out from looking at these photos that he went through and studied them with a fine tooth comb. And it's just not, you know, it's just not cool that he couldn't use it for that. So it's kind of lame, you know, that Zlaz Hour did that. So whatever.
And, you know, and I remember when I saw Van Halen, gosh, 10 years ago, when that's cool. You have to show, like, they were, Roth was saying, you know, record all you want, you know, it's keep it going. And I mean, you know, people are going to go to the shows whether it's recorded or not. And I think it was really cool. And, you know, back in the day, remember, nobody could bring cameras in. They just throw them out and, you know, for the phones. So, you know, I think it's just, I feel like people are getting just way too tight with images. And, you know, you can't even play something on YouTube if it's in the likeness factor, it gets shut down quick, you know?
I think, Les, what it's going to come down to is I think people see or have got this view that social media is this big, huge commercial cog. Mm-hmm. And, you know, clearly it is. You know, if you're a huge, big channel and you know, and you can get sponsorship deals, it is. Yeah. But for an average channel, it's not. You lose money running a YouTube channel, you know. So if people think, you know, that there's going to be some kind of kickback, for argument's sake, because we're talking about photos or a picture,
Yeah.
Well, you know, what realistically are you going to give? Because a video could make 7 cents. So you're going to give 1 cent to the photographer?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what it boils down to for average YouTube channels. Believe me, we're talking cents, not dollars.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I know. Like, for YouTube, like, I don't know, like, what was that? Sweet Child of Mine had like 1 billion views. I think Guns N' Roses made like $1 off of those. And no, I'm exaggerating, but that's
Yeah.
it's a ridiculous thing. Yeah, you can't, it's really hard to monetize stuff.
And I mean, don't even get me started on streaming. What people make. I think Frampton. One song he was saying that it streamed like 25,000, and I mean, he got maybe few $4, $3 maybe or something. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, really? Wow.
Yeah.
They let that happen to themselves. So
They do. Well, that's true. You don't have to. I mean, man, I thought a Motown deal was shitty.
Right. All these people, every musician is screwed out there today on royalties. But, listen, it's got to be their own fault, because how did they let that happen? It should never happen.
It's your publishing, man. It's wow. Things have changed. Things have definitely changed. I mean,
that's why concert tickets are through the roof, because this is the only way they make money. And half these people, I was looking at like a Jonas Brothers record. They're huge right now. It's just like it's songwriting by committee on those things. There's like 5 or 6 songwriters. They're making money, I guess, somehow. You know what I mean? The publishing money on that, but the artists, and a lot of these are just prefab, like the Jonas Brothers. A quick story. I know somebody who's like a security guard at Madison Square Garden. And they were having lunch in there while Nick Jonas was with his band, and they were rehearsing, and they were sitting there just in the seats, 20,000 seat arena, eating lunch. And he stopped them, and Nick Jonas, and he said to them, you guys need to leave. We're rehearsing in here. And they were just sitting there eating lunch. They weren't doing anything. And they were just like, you got to be kidding me. You don't want you're self-conscious or whatever, because we're sitting here. You're going to be playing to like 20,000 people tonight. But I said the reason probably is because they were probably using pre-recorded canned tracks, and they didn't want him to see them rehearsing, like pretending to sing to pre-recorded tracks. That's probably why. But,
embarrassing.
Yeah, but it's like just pre-packaged bands like that. 5 or 6 people write these songs. You know what I mean? Songs by committee. Even Eddie knew who Max Martin was. That's in Billboard in 2015. So Max Martin is like the modern day Mutt Lange. He's written like every popular pop song. It's like you look at them, your head would explode. It's like, man, this guy is unbelievable. But that's the way it is now. But it got away from the artists, and that's why we're paying all that money for the concert tickets, because that's the only way they make big money is.
And that whole bands. I'm not going to name any bands that the drummer was caught obviously playing before he even sat down.
Yeah.
On a tour, a year or 2 ago. I mean, it's just like
you can mention them. That's okay. Motley Crue.
Yeah, Motley Crue. I know, but no, like Tommy was going to piss at me, but I'm thinking I'm like, guys, how can you even? I could even look at myself in the morning if I got busted. You'd have to come clean and say, look, we did it this one time or so, or just it's like the Emperor's got no clothes on. I mean, if anybody needs backing tracks, it should be Vince. He needs backing tracks. Those other guys just need to play.
Yeah.
But that's crazy.
Speaking about that, do you think John 5 is going to allow Tommy Lee to get away with not playing properly?
Yeah, I do.
John 5 was on Eddie Trunk like last week, and he says that now that Nicky plays live. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I saw Nicky like clapping his hands to a song, and that bass line was all over the place.
I almost don't.
I was like, okay, I get it. He's really talented.
I almost don't care because, like, I don't know. I'm kind of done with the crew. Whatever.
If I was John 5,
I'll watch some stuff on YouTube. Whatever. I don't.
Yeah, look, John 5. I mean, the whole Mick thing is really it's another can of worms, and it's shitty, but. I mean, I don't know if John 5 writes in that style of Motley Crue. I mean, he's an amazing player. Obviously he can do the job. But I mean, is he Is he going to be a writer? Or they're working with Bob Rock again, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, are they going to bring an outside writer? I don't know. Well, time will tell.
Any news about the weight loss program that they tried to get Vince on a few years ago? Because it's always interesting, seeing some of the memes. Poor old Vince, with his tummy hanging out. And, that's an occupational hazard when you get a little bit older. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen. It's an occupational hazard, but...
Shout out to Deli.
I did see a picture of Vince Neil, and he did look thinner. I was surprised. I mean, maybe it was just the angle that the photo was taken. He looked almost like Vince Neil again. I love that one where he looks like what was the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Where he's on the tower,
abominable snowman.
He's on the tower like this.
Yeah.
Dude, they I feel bad for him, and they send that to Vince all the time. He's always getting pissed off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he's like, "Stop sending me this
shit."
I
I think that's bullshit. I mean, they're gonna. You have to look past some of these memes, like how it says it has that meme, and then it shows Vince's like Twitter picture and says, "Stop sending me this." Anybody can do that. Anybody can take a picture of Vince and type, "Stop sending me this."
You could make up you could make up like that and do it and make it look like Vince said that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Recreate
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah.
I do that all the time.
Hey, I saw Loverboy last year, and man, I tell you what, man, Mike Reno, man, I'm not judging by his weight, but man,
he's a big boy. Yeah,
he's a big guy. Yeah.
But you also got to take into account that, like,
I think he's actually got a condition too.
That's what I mean. These guys, they might not. I don't know. I don't know about Vince, but like these guys might have like, they might be taking medication that bloats them up, and you got to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're not, sitting there eating 27 donuts a night.
Yeah.
Hey, well, back in the day it was 27 lines and 27 hookers. Now it's 27 donuts, Jimmy.
You're right. That's right. 27
hookers are expensive.
27 different hookers, yeah.
It looks a little bit better, right?
Not too bad.
You know what's funny though is like it looks like especially this tour, that picture that you're just showing now, Conks, right? Like that tour, this tour that they're on, it looks like they've got him in pajamas.
Is he wearing a onesie?
He's got elastic waist jeans.
Yeah, he's got pajamas.
Jogging pants.
Yeah.
He's wearing like Adidas pants. Dude, I tell you what, I saw them in 84 on the Shout at the Devil tour, and I mean, I was like, God, 11 at the time, and I mean, they're obviously young, but man, they were so loud and they were just so kick-ass.
Yeah,
they're just really on top of the game.
Yeah, they were cool, bro. They were cool.
I remember they were playing like Knock 'Em Dead, Kid. And
oh hell yeah!
Ask for Love and all that great stuff, and it's just like, man, when you're 11, you're like, wow,
And then they came out with Dr. Feel Good, and they were even cooler.
Yeah, they're on the radio. They're acceptable now. They got cool videos.
Of course.
They always had a good sound. It's a shame that they made their best album without Vince.
Yeah, right. A lot of people say that, right?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I think them working with Bob Rock was just a wise decision.
Yeah. Like, didn't he teach them how to play their instruments? Like, didn't he
dude, there's no shortcuts in that class.
Yeah.
Bob Rock, man. You're gonna finish that track.
The Bob Rock School.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, well, apparently the rumor is, didn't he teach Nikki Sixx how to tune a bass or something like that? Is that one of the stories?
You got to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Nikki Sixx says, I don't really know how to play a bass. He goes, well, you're going to learn. So,
good.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Rock seems like a no-nonsense guy. Even with Metallica, he put them in their place quite a bit, too. It looked like in those documentaries and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the sad thing, one thing I hate about with him when he worked with Metallica, like people saying, oh, he's the guy that ruined Metallica. He didn't ruin Metallica.
No.
And Metallica was never ruined, except for those mixes on Justice for All. But
and the snare drum sound on Saint Anger.
The one that sounded like a gunshot to the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got
Yeah,
a
I
famous line in that movie where he says, I think to Lars, I hear what you're saying, but I don't hear it.
Yeah. But I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
There's Jerry Leica.
Hold on, brother.
I don't know if you can see it here. Hold on. It's the Vince Neil is the.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cookie Monster.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, every time I saw him like that, I'm like, shout at the deli.
When your brother put a comment in here, Vince Meal.
Yeah, my brother calls him Vince Meal.
Vince
That's
Neil.
so funny.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Sorry, Vince. We love you, Vince. We love you, brother.
Yeah.
Don't take it personally. It's only the internet.
Yeah, we love you, bro.
Man.
We love you, man.
Vince is
Ever
watching.
since-
We love you, Vince.
Ever since we heard Shout at the Devil in 81, we've been fans.
Dude, I had Shout at the Devil on record, and my grandparents were kind of religious. They were like, "What is this with the pentagram and stuff?" And
Yeah. I got that shit too. Yeah.
And she thought Kiss was Kings in Satan's Service, all that shit,
Yeah.
and they were really against it. So I don't remember what I did with that record, but I mean, I had it on cassette, and of course, the Walkman was all the rage back then on cassettes. Those were good days, man.
Yeah, they were great days. Back in the day,
That was
those
when
days.
music meant something, man. Music, baby. Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we used to have those bags that you'd put your records in because you didn't want certain people to see your records. I went to a Catholic high school. If you showed Shout at
wow.
the Devil, that cover,
Oh God,
you're out. Get out of here, John. Don't come back until next week.
you're probably gonna get some holy water thrown in your face. You're probably gonna get counseling and
Yeah.
Who knows?
Exorcised.
I just think that it's funny we're talking about like Motley Crue and we're talking about Metallica, and it all goes back to what I say. I won't say every band, but most band, it's like they all sell out to that popular sound. They all want to be part of that mainstream. Every band wants that. That's when you cross over onto that mainstream. It's like it's got to be like a drug.
yeah.
And Helen did it. Everybody did. But some bands can manage it. Yeah, right. It's fame and it's money, but it's like an acceptance from the a way bigger mass audience. I think when you cross over into that, like where this Taylor Swift is right now and stuff like that, and they all they can say that they're true to their music, but they all want a taste of that. And Metallica on that Black album, they got their taste of it, and some bands can recover from it. Some bands can recover from it, but other bands they don't. They just continue to go that way. And some bands are just like Bon Jovi, that's what they are. If Desmond Child's writing your hits, then you're okay with that from the beginning. I mean, that's the kind of band you are, So
Yeah, and I think bands. I'm not speaking for all of them, but I think they want to make great music and be respected by musicians and write great songs and maybe get their songs on the radio. I don't know. And it's kind of funny. Not ragging on Nirvana. But, I remember Kurt was like, I don't want any of this. I don't want anybody buying our records. I don't want to get popular. Then you know what? Don't release anything. Just play the clubs. Don't put out shit. Or just don't do it, I mean, and then, once you get famous or popular, or I hate to say whatever the success they got some great success, then you don't want it, then just quit. Don't do something else. Nobody's putting a gun to your head to do that. Just, don't. I'm not saying don't fight it, but there's just other ways of going about it, and that always kind of rubbed me the wrong way with stuff.
Some bands can handle it, and they can go through that phase, and where they cross over into that mainstream.
Absolutely,
and they can kind of keep one foot in that, that part of the pool, the mainstream, but still like retain credibility with their hardcore audience and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, when all is said and done, when all the smoke clears, you have your core audience, and that's what you always have. And to the end of your career, just like where Van Halen is now, they're over the band, but the core audience of fans is still there, waiting for them to, release some unreleased tracks or stuff like that. But that's ultimately who every band has to cater to, is their core fans. That's the ones that are going to be there at the end. They're there from the beginning and they're there at the end. And then they, if they step into the mainstream there, they're going to get all these other, fans that, are probably not hardcore fans. Maybe some will become that, but they don't last forever, I don't think. And every band goes through, they hit their peak and then it goes down. It happens to every band, you know what I mean? Literally, unless like Led Zeppelin got out when they were still, it's like a roller coaster going up to the top. John Bonham died and they were at the top already there. They weren't on their way down and they pulled the plug.
I think it was
Jimmy. We love the Police and the same thing with them, man. That was a conscious effort because they were here and they knew that it wasn't going to get any higher than that. And after that, it's downward for the band, a downward slope. And they said, we're going to get out right now. And you know what? And they leave people wanting more. And a lot of bands don't know when to leave. That's the problem. Like Zeppelin left us wanting more because Bonham died. And it was just like they were still at their peak. They weren't on their way out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And,
Huge, bro.
same with the Police. Still people would love them to regroup again. They did a reunion tour. They made tons of money, but, no new music or anything like that. But a lot of bands do stay around too long. And to be honest with you, Motley Crue, I think, is one of those bands. How many times are you going to tell people this is our final tour and we're signing a contract that we're never going to do this again? And you're basically lying to your fans.
Yeah.
And you know what? If they were still at the top of their game, I think we would all be a little more easy on them. You know what I mean? But obviously, if they're playing the pre-recorded tracks and, they're just, it's embarrassing at a certain point. It's just a money grab. And that's ultimately what this is, I think,
When remember when Bohemian Rhapsody went in Wayne's World, I think that was so good for Queen because man, it really revived everybody, the people that know Queen and like, it was great for Queen to people just rediscover their music and discover how amazing band they were. I think that was really cool, even though they were not,
Absolutely. Stuff like that you can't plan. That's what we would want to happen for Van Halen for the next generation of kids. You know what I mean?
Like when they played, they had a Panama and Superbad.
Yeah.
Drop Dead Legs and Family Guy. The small stuff here. I think that's so funny. And it's great. It's cool.
And ironically, in Superbad, you know how much Panama cost? To it was like I think it was $250,000. The director of the film said, "I wasted my whole soundtrack music budget on the film on Panama on that one song." He goes, because Van Halen was so expensive. I mean, and think of all the publicity that Panama got out of that. That was a great scene in the movie and stuff like that. And Van Halen was still around at the time, but it's just like, I understand they want to make money off it. It's all about money. That's all it really comes down to. But it's just like, you think they would do say, hey, this is helping us to get more exposure. But I almost think they have to start thinking that way down from now on. And say, just like I was complaining about Zlaz before, it's saying, dude, you got to work with people because it's just like you want to try to keep this thing alive. And it's like Eddie's gone. And it's like, so now it's like if they want to place a song in a movie, don't try to rip them off. Say, hey, man, we'll work with you a little bit. We want to get the exposure and get a new generation of people, hopefully, to grab on like they did with the Queen song, Bohemian Rhapsody, and expose Van Halen to a whole new generation.
Not everybody's out to screw you over the money, money thing. It's, we're obviously, we're not getting paid. I mean, because we're passionate about the group and the music. And, but, some of these things that, we play Van Halen at home. It's not we're making money. I mean, well, Jimmy's getting paid on the gigs, but,
I think you guys raise an interesting point because, who was the director of Goodfellas? Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese has a really, really good relationship with Mick Jagger, and he loves to use the Rolling Stones songs on at
like
least
in
4 of his movies. The Departed, and on Goodfellas. And apparently Mick Jagger is reported to have said to him, we're happy. We're happy to have you use this in your films because it exposes our music
100%.
to more people.
Yeah. There's no such thing as bad press.
I also heard, I think it was on Eddie Trunk. I listen to Eddie Trunk every day. But he was saying how, that Les and I were talking about this. There's that Nike movie, Air, right? Where it talks about like the Nike thing with Ben Affleck, right? Really good thing. I saw it. Really good. The producer, or I don't know, whoever does that, wanted to get Jump in.
Yeah.
in the movie, and like he just gave up. He was saying how he just gave up because like he wasn't getting anywhere. And I think instead of Jump, they put in like a Squeeze song. It's like, come on. But but like these guys can't get it together. I mean, for me, I don't care if there's a Van Halen song in a movie. It does nothing for me, really. But these guys need to get their shit together, man. Come on. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I want their songs in a movie. I love when there's Van Halen songs. It's like it's our band, man. It's like, yeah, man, this is good. You know what I mean?
I think the best thing I saw was that Family Guy thing. For me personally, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'd love to see David Lee Roth in a movie. I'd love to see Eddie in a movie. But like, I don't know. If I'm watching some movie and it's got like, ain't talking about love. Oh.
Now, Family Guy was in it twice. So when Meg was walking down the street, it was Drop Dead Legs.
Drop Dead Legs.
Now, remember that time Peter discovered Van Halen on CD?
Yeah.
And he sold the car. What was it, Panama?
1984, right? Was that?
Yeah. He was all driving fast.
Yeah.
And then South Park. Remember when they Middle East peace in the Middle East? They created peace in the Middle East.
Yeah.
That was a great episode.
I know they use Rush a lot too, which is pretty cool.
I love to point that stuff out to my kids. I was like, when Tina Turner died this week, I said, that's going to be a big story on like national news here in the United States. And sure enough, NBC Nightly News came on and one of the top story was that. And then I made sure I pointed out that, when Eddie Van Halen died, I just want to let you kids know, like, all the morning news shows the next morning, it was like in the lead, on the Today Show here, which is huge. They mentioned the death of Eddie Van, they're going to Eddie Van on all of the channels. So just to let them know that, they think, only their music is big, the stuff that they like. It's still,
Good point, John. Good point, John, because even our channel next week is going to do a show dedicated to the memory of Tina Turner, because of her influence and who she worked with in the industry. She's worked with everybody.
Everybody. You got it.
Just a quick thing. Jerry Leica mentioned the Hamburger Playing Shark on Better Off Dead. That's always so great. Such a great movie, but man, not a lot of people really remember that movie. It's kind of really went by the wayside, but it's a great movie.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
But I remember everybody wants some, and it reminds me of the You Really Got Me with the Nissan.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Didn't Van Halen get paid in cars? They get like the last Nissan 300GXs for that.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get paid in money.
Cool. That's cool. I always wanted one of those cars.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, I'll take a car for a song. Why not?
Yeah, right.
So, Les,
Yes.
apparently you were supposed to
Yes.
something like this in the mail today.
Yeah, and I was supposed to get the delay. Well, the day all the videos came out, I called Sweetwater and ordered it. And they're like, yeah, man, it'll be at the end of June. I'm like, okay, cool. When it gets here. Then a week later, I was talking to the guy and he goes, oh, it looks like it's going to be 2 weeks. I'm like, really? Wow, that's really fast. And then they called me on Thursday and they're like, hey, it's shipping out today. I'm like, you got my address, ship it on out, man. I want it by Saturday because of the show.
Yeah.
And something got messed up with my shipment at Sweetwater, so I won't get it till next week, which is just a punch in the gut. And so, it's kind of like, man, I wanted to show you guys the delay so bad tonight, and everybody, but a few people that got theirs today, but I wanted to do like a small video of like my Rolands I have, and then kind of compare the pedal to like a similar
what you can do then is when you get it, and then we'll do another show and then come back on, and then by then you would have had obviously some experience with the pedal because it'll be an interesting pedal. First of all, I suppose we've all read and seen the hype, John and Jimmy, about this pedal. It's the connection to the Van Halen camp is clearly there. Jimmy, I know you've got some thoughts, but we'll get John to share his thoughts because I think yours might be a little bit controversial. So we'll get Johnny and Les to talk a little bit about this pedal, and I suppose I'm just going to add something else to the conversation. This pedal here came out a couple of years ago. That was considered an important component of getting that late Van Halen sound, that balance era sound.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk about that and where that pedal will sit in conjunction with this new pedal that's coming out, guys.
Definitely. Who do you want to go first?
I think you're supposed to go first.
You go first, Johnny.
Okay, well, here's the irony. Guess what?
Oh!
Guess what crapped out on me this week?
No way.
I swear to
you-
God,
You didn't sabotage that?
Dude,
Yeah,
it's a sign.
my wife thinks I did, but I didn't.
She knows too much.
And being that I maxed out my Sweetwater card, I will not be getting that other pedal right now, but I'm going to send this out and get it fixed. But what I want to know is when you guys get the pedal, that Yoshi, who is the CEO of Boss, who worked for Roland and who designed the SDE 3000, he was the CEO when they were doing this pedal. And at the 11th hour, he told them, I want the SDE 3000 algorithm put into this pedal. So they scrambled at the 11th hour and they put it in here, and it's called Vintage Digital. If you can see the setting up there, that's the SDE 3000. And there's a way on here to split this into two delays like the new one is. As you can see, I have it labeled DDL left, digital delay left, and digital delay right. When the screen is on, so I set it to 398 milliseconds on the left and 798 on the right. And it goes out into the power amp and into the left and right cabinets for the stereo, like the delays. So you can do that on here, and it works phenomenally well. I mean, there's videos on YouTube of it also of that. And so I want to know why it's better when you guys get that pedal, and Jimmy, when you get it, why it's better, or if it's better. Somebody needs to explain that, because why wouldn't we just, obviously it looks cool and, everything like that. It's got Eddie's presets in it. Jimmy, you're going to talk about those presets too, about the two different versions of that pedal. Yeah, you got to tell everybody about that. So anyway, but my thoughts on it are it's an awesome pedal, but I mean, right now you can probably get this for a lot cheaper to do the same exact thing. I mean,
Sure.
Literally the same exact thing, because it's got the algorithm for the SDE 3000 in it. But it's not as cool looking as the other one, but yeah, but I think it's just awesome. And the fact that it has the Eddie presets in the striped version of it, I think it's cool. And eventually, of course, I'm probably going to wind up getting one, you know what I mean? But Jimmy, when you take over here, you can explain it, or maybe you want Les to go next, and then Jimmy, but make sure you explain the presets and why you have to buy, the Eddie one as opposed to go for it.
All right, for me, when did this appear? Like last Monday?
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks ago? Can't remember.
Literally like a week ago. It seems like it just hit the scene.
And all right, so I saw it, and ideally I'm probably gonna use it. I ordered one. Mine hasn't come. I think mine's gonna be delayed. I mean, I got mine
delayed.
I mean, I ordered mine like
Mine was.
So Les sent me a text that he ordered it at like 9:00, and then I'm like, so here's the thing with me is I'm not a big delay guy. I'm not big into delays, right? And like Eddie used delay differently, but like, I've been in front, I've had front row seats to Van Halen, and it's not like Eddie's stops playing and you hear a delay trail. That's not it, right? So I was never really into George Lynch, you can hear the delay. That's Lynch's type of thing. But like Eddie, when he stops playing, there's no like, there's no trail. So he uses it differently. And I kind of like, I watched this YouTube video with Pete Thorne, and that's what kind of sold me on it. And that there's these presets, and yeah, like John was saying, there's two different pedals for the SDE 3000. There's the regular one, and there's the EVH. Now, with the EVH, you get the presets of what came out of other. I think there's 8 of them that came out of Eddie's, SDE 3000. That, like the story goes, they A/B'd it against the original. Blah blah blah. My whole thing is that there's this preset. I think it's like the 6th one. I'll have to watch the Pete Thorne thing where the thing that I'm trying to get out of it is not delay like like a George Lynch delay. I'm trying to get a wider sound. I'm trying to widen my sound, right? Make it more, I don't know I don't know what you'd call it.
Spread.
3D, but I'm also only using one cab. Now with me, I'm playing, these rooms and like, I do have one ordered. I'm going to try it out. If I don't like it, if I don't need it, not that I won't like it. It's that if I don't need it, if it's not doing what I want, I'm going to send it back, honestly. Right. Les and I talked about this. He's like, bring another cab. I'm not going to bring other cabs. I already have a cab, right? The sound guy last week loved it, right? Loved the sound that I had. So I'm trying. So my whole thing is like I'm trying to get it more wide, more 3D, more like I guess wet, dry, wet. But to what extent can you get a kind of like wider sound with only one or two cabs? So like I said, I got mine on order. Yes. Oh yeah. I got mine on order, and I'm gonna try it, and
Nice.
if it doesn't work, I'm gonna send it back. Oh, the other thing with the difference is that you have the EVH presets, and the cool thing about Boss is that now you can buy the regular model, and if you know how to set it, I mean it's just numbers. If you know how to set it to, and I guess you could, this stuff's out on the internet. You can set it like Eddie's, but the cool thing that Boss did is that they're kind of blacking out the parameters for the EVH functions. So when you put in when you use the EVH ones, all you see is like EVH1 or something like that. And so you can't see the parameter to send it to your buddy who's got the regular one and put it in. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Which I like because they're protecting the people that buy the EVH one.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
it's
more.
encoded.
Price. The EVH one is more.
Jimmy told all the cheap people on Facebook.
Yeah, so this
"Don't be
one
so
guy,
cheap."
I forgot about that.
He did.
One guy that day was on Facebook was like, "Hey man, he was like something about like $100 more." I'm like, "Yeah, man, this is EVH. Stop being a cheap F and whatever." I won't get into it.
You can say it.
I won't get into it, but I like the fact that Boss is like protecting the people that buy it. As opposed to your buddy gets the EVH. Here's the parameter. Suddenly you have the EVH, but you paid less for yours. You know what I mean? Anyway, but the real thing that I want to say is that I'm probably going to use it differently. Not so much like, like when you hear Eddie play Panama, there's no delay trail. When you hear him play Beautiful Girls, there's no delay trail, but the sound is wider, and that's what I'm trying to do. To what extent it'll be successful? Me personally, I don't know if it's going to be that successful, so I'll probably end up returning it, because if it's only like a 2% improvement, then I don't really need it. I mean, it might be cool. Like I might just keep it for the delays and stuff. It's a cool thing. Who knows? But ideally, my thing is I'm trying to get a wider sound, and like to what degree that'll work, I don't know. That's it.
I think the pedal's great. Like Jimmy said, it's funny. You spend $100 more, you get the presets. You might not get the display settings, but you do get the sound, which is cool. I think it's cool how they put. I believe it's the first bank of EVH presets. There's 4 of them, and then 4 would be like how Eddie would do the wet, dry, wet system setup. And then the other 4 are like the same settings, but for people that are just running into a combo, that not with the same setup. So I think that's really pretty cool, actually. Because not everybody's going to have a wet, dry, wet or the ability to use it in that situation, but it does have the outputs to do that if you want. But you can also use it like a regular delay pedal, which is pretty cool. Somebody's done their homework on this. The stripes look cool. But yeah, the $100, that's what you get. You get those presets, and that's cool. I think it's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to the way it sounds. I just hope it has the same kind of preamp like the delay racking it has, which I heard it does. So we'll see. It
Thanks,
looks
Yeah, it's
like
going to be
Randy.
interesting.
it's a big
to-
pedal
to-
though. I mean, it's pretty big pedal, which is cool. I'm not gonna put it in my rack. My rack's kind of, I hate redoing wiring on that, but I'll use it. I'll probably run it to my 5150 combo, and
Yeah.
I was thinking like maybe just put on a pedal board, you know.
Yeah, perfect for that. I think from that perspective, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with more and more reviews and what you have to say about it, Les and Jimmy, when you get it, because that pedal, as I said to you guys in the green room here in New Zealand's $12.99. So that's a lot of money that you can chuck towards a
Oof.
Kemper.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and for the people that are like, I got enough for the regular one, just go into your kids' college funds, take that money out, break into your kids' piggy banks and shit. You can replace that money again. Just
Not everybody needs to
man
go.
up and buy it, dude.
That's what I tell Les. Not everybody
That's right.
needs to go to college.
Yeah,
If you want it,
The world needs
buy it.
plumbers and
yeah, trade school.
yeah.
You know how much plumbers make?
yeah.
Man, they make a lot,
Yeah.
and they deal with a lot of shit too.
Oh,
No.
they sure do.
But no, I mean, I think it's really cool though that they've done it to the. I mean, you've got like, you get the phase, you get the flange, you get the wah, the delay. I mean, cool. You even get the distortion pedal, which he never really used, I guess. And I mean, it's a great pedal, but it's cool that it's you get his delay sounds and presets in his time. His delay times are great. I get that one Van Halen tab book, which got all the tab of like everything Eddie ever did, which is cool. But it's cool because it gives you a lot of delay setting times for certain songs, which are cool. And
Okay.
I always thought that was neat.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, like I say, guys, I'll be keen to check it out. And obviously, Les, when you get it and you've
Yeah.
had a bit of a play with it, come back on the channel and we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And you can share that with us. And look, I agree with you too, Jimmy. We've never hidden the fact that most of us are fanboys, and it's got EVH's name on there for a reason. All the stuff has, it's for a reason. The connection on this pedal is there. It's solid. It's not fabricated. We know that. The people are certainly there. It's not, not something that was done. This is what Eric Clapton did in 1968 to get the Crossroads live vibe, John. No one would know what that was, but at least the authenticity that we kind of like as Van Halen fans is going to be there on this pedal. You go and
If
buy
I
it.
had like Les has a wet dry wet. He runs wet dry wet back there. No,
Yeah.
if I had a wet dry wet thing in my basement, of course I would keep this thing. It's perfect for that. Just plug it in. It's got 3 outputs in the back. But for me, I want to just try it. Maybe at the most I would add maybe another cab. But honestly, I mean, I got my car's filled with stuff when I play a show. I can't imagine having to bring another cab.
So,
You know what
so
I
why
mean?
don't you do this then, Jimmy? Get the pedal, listen to it, set your Kemper up with your ears to the settings, and then return it.
That's kind of well. You mean that? Well, I don't know. The Kemper does a lot. I don't know if it. I'm not good with like settings. I'll be honest with you. I'm not great with setting stuff, right? Which is why I love this Kemper. I'm not gonna go down that road, but I love this Kemper because you can. I'm good at like fine tuning effects and all that, but with the Kemper, you just load in these profiles. If you don't like it, try the next one.
Get another
That's
one.
it. I'm gonna when I get this thing, I'm gonna plug it in and see what happens. But I just mean that I could make it work. It's kind of like, how much trouble do I need to do? I can't. I'm not gonna carry another cab. I don't think.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
not worth it to me. I barely even have the room with all the stuff I got to bring.
Well, just
You know what
buy
I
a
mean?
bget van. Simple.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I got to buy a fan. Yeah, that's what I mean.
well, you know what you can do. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like you got enough stuff, you don't want to bring any more. You could always get a 112 just for just a 112. Like I have my Egnators, I use those for 112, my wets, and they're not too much. I mean, I wouldn't bring another 212s. I'd just bring a 112 for like your wet, so you could do a dry and then a wet with the delay or whatnot.
Well, the thing is, like, that's the other thing. So now I have to get a 112 and lug around a one. I already have another 212. So if I was going to do anything, I'd bring another 212. I already have it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. So for me, it's like, and these guys know this. We've talked about this. For me, it's more like, what benefit is it going to give me over having to carry more gear?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You know what I wanted to try to do? I even bought like a thing where I could split it. I wanted to take a 412 cabinet and have different inputs in the back of it or something. I bought a thing for it where you could rewire it and make the top left and right speakers, the left and right, and then the bottom two, make them like the center dry speaker, and the top two left and right. I don't know how it would sound in one 412 cabinet. Instead of bringing 3 cabinets, have one, but just split it up. So you'd have, like I said, the bottom two would be your dry, and the top left and top right would be your wet left and right. Mm-hmm. And I bought this thing where you can, you'd have to drill out the back of your cabinet, and just so when you're connecting it, you could wire it that way and rewire the head. But I don't know how it would sound in one cabinet. I'm sure somebody's tried it by now, but it's like I was thinking of doing that a couple of years ago. But then
I knew a guy. He had 2 412s. This is pretty crazy. It's something we're talking about, John. He had 2 412 cabs. He had 2 or 3 heads, and we're talking about wet, dry, wet. And he goes, I want to make my 2 outer speakers, the top 2. I want to make those the wets, and then the 2 12s on the left and the right, where they would be the center, make those the dries. I'm like, I mean, I guess you could do it. It seems like you get some. My biggest thing is phase. You might run into a phase issue or not, but I was like, dude, just get 3 cabs. Oh, I ain't got room. I'm like, well, if you got room for 2 412s, I mean, I get it, but I don't know. It's like there's so many ways to you can do it too. My biggest thing is I tell people, just make sure your wets are not as loud as your dry. Because you want to bring in the mix to bring up the volume, because I've seen some people where the wets are just ungodly loud, and I can't hear a dry at all.
Like Jimmy said on that last tour, especially I didn't hear any delay at all. It's just like only on certain things you would hit the button, and for a second or two you would hear something. But other than that, when he was just playing, it sounded like pretty just dry, the whole thing.
Yeah, it was just loud and just. I feel like it was just volume loud, obviously, but just gainy and loud.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like Ed, he talks about like the milliseconds, like 300 milliseconds on one, 700, but that's for the wet, dry, wet, where it's going to give you that girth, right? And I could totally see that it's going to give you that girth, but it's not going to, it's not going to be like, a repeat, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to hear it because it's more like it's a millisecond. You're not really going to, but it gives you that wider sound. And I was over at Les's place, I don't know, 2 years ago, and he's got Les. What's that thing? And what was that effect thing that I liked in your thing? He's got this thing, and he hit a button, and instantly you could tell that your sound was wider.
So what I was doing was I had the Roland's left and right delays, and they're 2 different times. So it's kind of I think I was doing 250 and 500 milliseconds. I got a few different presets, but you were liking the SPX 90.
Oh yeah,
it was like a chorus. Yeah. So I used the SPX 90 Yamaha, the one like Zach Wild used. It's what Bai used on the first Eat 'em and Smile. Anyway, it's got a pitch called symphonic, and it's basically it's literally detune. And I will admit, I think I might like it more than the Eventide detune. And it's got this very nice kind of a widening micro pitch that does not get in the way of your dry signal.
You could A/B it, and it was night and day. It was
it's like you can feel it, you can hear the spread.
Yeah, really and that's what I'm looking. That's what I'm looking for. And I know it's not gonna, I know it's not gonna be like that with one cab, but
Jimmy, you better be careful, bro. You better be careful, bro. You might be inching towards that balance sound, bro.
No. That's the other thing. No.
Yeah.
No, never. But
Had to throw that in, bro.
earlier, Andrew, you were talking about that eventide. I mean, I've got two H9s, and it has that algorithm in there that you have on that pitch thing, and that was the other thing. Like when I bought my H9, like I used to play Panama and all these bands before that, and it was like I'll never forget this. I think I told these guys that story, and I was like, Panama, okay. But in the back of my head, it's almost like Ain't Talking About Love. Like you got to have that delay, like that delay for Ain't Talking About Love. It has that quick repeat. But so Panama, I'm playing Panama, whatever. But I always felt like it was missing something. So when I got that H9, it has a Panama preset. When I tried it, I was like, oh my God, that's it. It's that that pitch or chorus, whatever you want to call it, right? So, I mean, for the good thing is that nowadays you can kind of get that sound with a $30 pedal or something like that. I see on YouTube.
Yeah,
but Eventide. I mean, you can't go wrong with anything Eventide. No.
Giant's
got an H9.
Yeah,
we had 3 H9s on that stage.
That's right. I got a picture of that somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But you know what? I find that the H9. The Women in Love one is obviously, for the tapping intros. That's cool and everything like that. But the Drop Dead Legs one sounds nothing like Drop Dead Legs. I mean, the one I came up with one that sounds way better than that than the one that comes with it. So they're like, whoever programmed that is way off. Is probably not a Van Halen fan. But I ran and got this. I want to show you. So if I drill out the back of my cabinet, I was thinking of doing this. So you'll have the left and right, and then another one just wiring it up. We took the back of the cabinet off.
So basically, you can turn your mono cab into a stereo cab.
Yeah, basically, right? I wonder how. Cool. I mean, it's going to be very close because the speakers are right next to each other. But I mean, if you're standing in front of it, it'd probably sound really cool. In your house, you wouldn't need 3 cabinets, really, right? For and you could probably plug in your head into the one and just use the 2 lower speakers, which is probably better for your ears anyway. Keep them the dry ones, and then the top you could use for the wet, dry, wet. So, I mean, maybe that's
go and order the pedal then, John, after the show, and do it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll get my power tools out. I'll saw a hole in the back to put this back on there. But I might eventually try to do that, but I don't want to ruin my 5150 cabinet though. The 412 there. It's,
that's sweet.
I would like to try it get an old somebody selling a Marshall cabinet or something like that, and try it on that just to see how it is.
Yeah.
But maybe one of these days I'll do it.
Wolf Hoffman of Accept, he actually had a Marshall head that he converted it to stereo.
What?
Yeah, he actually had it, and I remember seeing a picture. Somebody told me about that because we were talking about like the old Marshall Majors. Remember those 200-watt Marshalls? And he had a Marshall, and I saw the back of it, and it was modded where it was actually stereo out, which is interesting because you get a half stack, it's just mono.
Yeah.
You might run another cab, but it's I guess it'd be dual mono technically, whatever. But he did that. And I thought that was interesting. I was like, that's pretty amazing. He was doing it, I think, like in 85, way back then, which is interesting. I've never seen a stereo Marshall head before, really, or I never heard of anybody kind of consider doing that. Because now you got effects and you can just run stereo and cabs, and the funny thing is there's a million ways you could do all this, which is kind of a beauty, but it kind of occurs because you're like, well, shit, what am I not doing? But I'd be interesting why he did that and what was, I guess the obviously he wanted a stereo, but I'm just kind of curious why he did that. It's kind of interesting. I've never heard of a stereo Marshall head. I was like, what?
So guys, I'm going to take a guess here and think that we're of vintage. I'm going to take a guess and assume that 35 years ago this week we were all doing something. 35 years ago, Les, and Jimmy and John. So, John, what were you doing 35 years ago?
35 years ago?
This week.
What year would that have been 35 years ago? Oh, I know I was doing. I think I was recovering from the Monsters of Rock at Giant Stadium. I think
it didn't happen yet.
It didn't happen. I thought it was June 26th or something.
Yeah, but it's May.
Oh, it's May.
It's
see,
May.
Month it is. Okay, but I was just listening to Balance then. I thought, man, I don't even know what month it is. I'm sorry. Wow.
This album here.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. I was on the turntable. I'm probably actually CD. I think I had that on CD. That was one of the first albums I bought on CD. I think, maybe the third or fourth, I think, because that was around the time when CDs became 88 was I remember, I think Billy Joel was the first CD I ever bought or something like that in 1988. So that was an early one, but yeah, I actually was listening to it today. I was listening to Black and Blue today and Sucker in a 3-piece. That's one of the best pick slides Eddie's done, I think.
Yes.
The beginning of Sucker in a 3-piece. And Randy, where is Randy? He's in the chat. Randy messaged me last week, and we were talking about. He pointed out about how much more gain is on the beginning. I mean, on the whole song of "Sucker in a 3-piece" compared to the gain on the rest of the album. For some reason,
he's right.
That song's got a lot more gain on the guitar than even like AFU or anything like that. And
he was using a Steinberger.
I don't think he was using a Sucker in a 3-piece.
I thought it was.
No, I'm pretty sure that's a 5150. Randy, 5150, right? You there, Randy, still?
All right, stay here.
I thought it was. The reason why I say that, believe it or not, is when he does that, like that swill and he does the dive bomb, it sounds like it's a trans trim. I don't know. I always thought it was.
I don't think so, because live he used the Kramer 5150 on it too, and he had the Steinberger. He could have used it,
Yeah, that's true.
Summer Nights. I'm pretty sure it's the 5150, but it just sounds way gainier.
Yeah, it's like it's got this kind of mid-range to it.
Yeah,
it's like it's EQ'd or something.
Yeah, it's definitely like more than like AFU, which is another rocker on there. You know what I mean? So, anyway, so now I guess we're going to talk about OU812 35, huh?
Yeah, Les. So were you lining up at the shop to get the CD or the DVD, the LP?
Yeah, I remember in high school when it came out. I remember I had an uncle named John. He's my step uncle, and he was like a few years older than me. But anyway, I remember he was saying, he goes, yeah, there's like a tapping intro solo. It's supposed to be like kind of eruption. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, one song's supposed to have like a tapping intro. And that was obviously, oh shit, what was it? Drawing a blank here.
AFU?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Not AFU.
Source of Infection.
Source of Infection, yeah. But it was, it was a tapping intro, but it wasn't like, it was not like eruption kind of solo piece. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. I like Cabo Wabo. It's of course Mine on Mine was just like had that kind of great chorus that the background chorus, almost kind of a choir kind of feel, which I always like. When it's love. It was good. It was a great album. Obviously we've talked before, like, hey, the bass needs to be a little bit louder, but yeah, it was good. It was a great time, and the videos were cool, and Monsters of Rock was great. I saw him previously. I think that was the third time I saw Van Halen. Yeah, because 84, then 86, and then 80. Yeah. So that was like my third time seeing those guys, and it was a great time. It's always like a great time because it's the summer, it's everybody's in that, go to the beach, crank up the rock and roll stuff. It's like it reminds me of the Texas Jam, It's a great time, great band, summertime. Cabo Wabo was great. The stories behind it were cool. And it was kind of cool because I felt like Eddie, he was changing his tone a little bit, here and there. So it's cool. Hagar sounded great. Al's always great,
Al went back to real drums.
I remember I had the cassette first, and then remember the CD had the bonus song on it, Apolitical Blues. So I was like, shit, I got to get the CD so I can get that bonus song. And I'm like, oh, it's a cover, great.
I was like, oh, this song sucks.
It's a little, nothing against Little Feat. I'm like, could you have done something else,
I know, man.
I was like, I didn't really want him to hear. I know Van Halen can do covers, obviously, but I didn't care for a Little Feat cover.
I agree with you. Out of all the blues songs they could have covered, Chim and Meow, wow, 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 come on.
I guess they probably were just goofing around, and Don recorded the original one, the Little Feat version. He was the engineer of the original one. So
that's right. Yeah.
And I know Eddie used that little airline guitar, one of those little airlines on that. And I guess Sammy played guitar on that one too. I think he actually played guitar on it all. I think it was all done live, and I think the piano was overdubbed. Eddie just did that little barrel house kind of piano, and that he put in there, little on there. But I mean,
of course the cover was like Meet the Beatles.
Yeah, exactly.
That was pretty cool, pretty neat, kind of a nice homage, I guess, to the Beatles, which is interesting.
Love the album cover. Always have, bros. Always have. It's just a cool cover with that light green.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's funny? I remember I was going to that's the summer I spent some time up in Davenport in Iowa, and I remember listening to that in Skyscraper a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, those are the two albums I was listening to like all the time in my Walkman, and I think I was listening to Keel and Iron Maiden too. But yeah, it's good times. Crazy.
Jimmy, what about you, bro? What were you doing 35 years ago? Were you cranking it, bro?
I remember I knew it was coming out. I forgot how the story goes, but it was like the day it was being released, and I was like, okay, we're getting OU812 today. And I was working, and I don't know how I ended up saying this to my, contacting my sister, because there wasn't any cell phones or anything. But there was a small music store near my house, and I had my sister go there and get me OU812, right? Because I was working. And she came back and was telling me that, she didn't come back in person, but I forget how I talked to her, because there weren't any cell phones or anything. But it ended up being where, like, it was, they didn't want to, it was like that day, and they didn't want to, I think they were supposed to release it the next morning, something like that. They told her, right? They couldn't release it yet. So anyway, I actually had her go back and beg the guy, and I got it a day early. I got the CD a day early, and I do love it. It just turned out that there was some great songs on there. You started off, first of all, you got Mine All Mine and all that, which was fantastic. And, the whole CD was great. Outside of When It's Love, I'm not really sure if I like that tune. I got tired of When It's Love. But the rest of it's good, and, like Les said, it was a summer of, Van Halen, he had kind of 86, and we kind of released around the same time, right before summer. And,
wow.
One thing, it's funny, every time it's summertime, I think of two things: Star Wars and Van Halen.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, not to get off the subject, but when For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge came out, I think that's in summer school, and we were just crawling out just to go grab that shit,
Yeah.
And I remember hearing Pound Cake. My dad, I was like, man, his sounds change, because the whole thing. But Finish What You Started was kind of cool because they never really did country, that was a really cool video. When It's Love, man, they played that video way too much. It was a cool video, but man, I just got tired of hearing it.
They thought that they thought that was. I mean, I love that song. I think it's just a great song. I know they had Steve Porcaro from Toto helped Ed program the keyboards on on Mine All Mine and When It's Love. Those two. I mean, he had a lot of equipment going on those. It wasn't just on Feel So Good. It was just his old OB8, the same one he used on Jump and
Organ Sound, right?
On Jump, OBXA on Jump. I'll Wait and Why Can't This Be Love was the OB8, and he used it again on Feel So Good. But I always remember the story about the Scorpions before the tour. I guess they invited them over to Ed's house or something like that, and before the Monsters of Rock started, and they played them the new album. And that song, the Scorpions, were just like, Alex was laughing because I guess they hated Feel So Good. They just didn't know what it was. And I remember Alex talking about it and was saying laughing. They were just like, they didn't know what to say about it because they hated it so much, that song. And I guess Van Halen kind of thought it was funny that they didn't like it. And I know Eddie had a hard time finishing that one. I remember it was like he had a block and he couldn't, he was trying to think of parts for that one. I think that was one of the most difficult ones they did on the album, Feel So Good. But I never really liked Source of Infection. I just thought that that's when the first time when the cheesy Hagar lyrics really bothered me, because I just thought that was just so stupid, And even the verse part, I thought it was kind of that, like, double time, like country, dan 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 dan, I thought it was kind of cheesy. And you know what? The double bass drums, it just didn't have that. When you hear Hot for Teacher, that when you have that same kind of shuffle beat on there, with those Simmons drums, they sounded huge. It just didn't sound cool to me. I don't know. I never really got into that song at all on there. That's one I would actually skip on there. But I think AFU is one of the most underrated Van Halen songs of both eras. I just think that's just a great song that should have gotten more attention, I think, on there too. Mine All Mine, like you guys said, is great. Cabo Wabo, the song that broke up Van Halen, really, when you look back now, that was it. You know what I mean? So that's a tough one. I mean, it's kind of cool, it's I like that live solo that he did with the delay. Remember, he did a different solo live on Cabo Wabo. I thought that was kind of cool. And I guess he used like a 12-string telly on that, wasn't it? In the studio on Cabo
I
Wabo?
thought it was like something with a Schecter neck.
Yeah, I thought it had that weird headstock on. Did it? Or
it's like a telly neck. 12. I can't remember. Yeah.
I thought it was that weird like telly neck that had a big like curve on the end.
Yeah. I remember like
right. It was something with Schecter. Randy, you probably know that one too. Jump in. But I thought that was kind of cool because that was a 12-string doing that, and you obviously drenched in Eventide.
Oh my gosh, it had a big sound.
Yeah, definitely drenched in Eventide on there. And let's see what else. What else have we got on that album? You guys mentioned Finish What You Started and Sucker in a 3-piece. I mean, I think that's just a great. It's like kind of like a reminiscent of Panama a little bit in there, but it's also
that's some of the rhythm parts.
Panama, but it's also a direct ripoff, I think, of AC/DC Down Payment Blues off of what is it? What album is it on? It's on the one that Eddie loved the best, the Power Age.
Power Age, and that
Power
celebrated a birthday last week too.
Yeah, exactly. So if you guys, if you didn't hear nobody ever heard that, go listen to Down Payment Blues on there, and you'll see where the way it modulates.
One thing I was like, is that like with Mine on Mine and When It's Love and Feel So Good, is like I just always like the sounds that he got. Keyboards. It's just kind of why can't this be love? I remember hearing that and people were like, I remember even Ted Nugent saying, "Is that a guitar? Is that keyboard?" God, with Eddie, you never know because he's always up to something. And it's kind of like, wow, he's always getting these great sounds out of the guitar or even his keyboards. And
those analog keyboards, that OB8, I'm telling you, it's just a magical thing. You can just turn the knobs on that. It's amazing. I think the great sounds in it.
You can get the Terminator soundtrack sounds, and
get
all those heavy
Beverly Hills Cop sounds.
It's my favorite keyboard.
He used a Roland D50 on When It's Love. The thing with When It's Love that I mean, even the reviews at the time, they actually compared it to the Beatles, believe it or not. I don't know if Andrew, you ever heard that. I remember reading the review because of the call and response chorus. Yes. It was like with a little help from my friends, it's like, what do you, and then it's a call and response, like the lyrics. And they said it was like, I wonder if they were thinking that, like, how do I know when it's love? I can't tell you, but it lasts forever. How does it feel when it's love? It's a call and response. So maybe a nod to the Beatles somewhere in there. I don't know.
That's
like
that's been around for a while.
Yeah, right.
And look, and it's certainly feasible, that they would have used that as a template. But Les, I got to agree with you. I think tonally, it's an album of tonal variations. The album, as far as Ed's concerned, you've got a Strat on one song, and as you say, you've got keyboards on another, and then you've got high gain on another song, and it's certainly an album with contrasts, and if you like that.
I'm sorry. And then finish what you started. He's going direct with the Strat. I mean, and it's a kind of a country tune, a Van Halen-ized country tune, I guess you could say. It's definitely something neat that we really kind of hadn't heard, and I thought that was kind of. I mean, hell, he's wearing. Well, I know Eddie wore a cowboy boots, but he's got a goddamn cowboy hat in the video, so it's kind of. I thought that was kind of cool.
Well,
it feels so good. I mean, we also saw some older guitars that we haven't seen in a while. So that's
mine was the Strat for the main part of it. Only in the solo, I think he used the Kramer 5150, but the whole song is on the Strat. And that nice little clean part in the middle, that little bridge part and they're doing the oohs, that part, that's cool. And When It's Love is a Strat, and the solo is When It's Love is not a Strat. It's a Strat on the solo, but it's a 5150, I think, on the verses and everything like that. I think it's the opposite of like Mine All Mine there.
And When It's Love, I mean, that solo has got clapped and written all over it.
Without a doubt.
Which is great. It's just like, man, it's just his phrasing, and it's good. I'm trying to think. Also, I was going to say something. It was a great album. I was going to say, John, and you might remember this too, Jim. Remember that Guitar World? They had like great pictures of like Ed's. Remember his Strat that he used on that? It was all, the neck was all dirty, and it's one where he's wearing that Hawaiian shirt with the cream,
smoke rings or something.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And
I had that issue in my bathroom for like years.
Oh, I know, yeah. That was a really good Guitar World, because it was really talking about the album, And I know, guys, we read it and read it. I'd go somewhere with my parents. I'd bring my guitar for Guitar World. I never went anywhere without those. They were always in my backpacks and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was such a great Guitar World, Guitar Player, and Guitar for the Practicing were just the baddest magazines.
So can you imagine? Can you imagine back in our day we were walking around with magazines? Now you've got everything on here.
I don't.
Yeah, right.
And I've got those magazines like in my closet, and I love just every once in a while flipping through them, and I'm like, holy shit, I remember this and this and that, and look how young Billy Sheehan was, or whoever it was back then, and it's just funny how and hell, half these people that are on there are just not around anymore. It's crazy.
I know, it's true, and it's funny, and that was the last album that our friend Alan Garber recognizes as a Van Halen album. Yeah. That's it.
Because they never did anything else after it.
Exactly. Nothing else matters after that.
Why is that exactly? Because of Don Landee not doing the other ones?
Yeah, I think that was the last one Don was involved in too. Yeah. So I don't know.
Oh gosh.
I don't think Alan was a fan of Andy Johns. He just didn't seem like it, I don't think Andy deserves a lot of credit, as much credit for like some of the Zeppelin and some of the other stuff he did.
And then I remember that summer, like you're mind your own business watching MTV or whatever, and suddenly Monsters of Rock, Kingdom Come, Scorpions. I'm like, Van Halen? And then I remember me and my buddies were like, it was like me and like 7 of my friends. We went. I wish I knew Conks back then. I mean, Conks was there. I was there. It was Giant Stadium. I was like on Eddie's side, but like, I mean, I think there might have been maybe 3 or 4 rows behind me, and that was it. Like I was
I was too. I was up at the top. Jimmy, I remember during in between bands. I remember girls girls were pulling their tops off. They were standing on the. And like the people were going crazy on one side, and then on the other side, a girl would pull her top up, and it was like it was mayhem. I also remember that some poor kid was paralyzed at that show. Some drunk idiot on the upper deck fell off of the upper deck at Giant Stadium and landed on this kid and paralyzed the kid.
My God!
Yeah, it was tragic. It was tragic.
I remember that.
I remember the story being on the news, and I often wonder. I'm like, man, whatever happened to that poor guy? I mean, that was just a really shitty card he was dealt that night. And the other thing that that stood out, and I know it stood out with you too, Jimmy, is that I mean, Kingdom Come was the first band on there. We know just a Zeppelin ripoff, and the irony is that I guess Bob Rock was hanging out with John Paul Jones, and I guess he told John Paul Jones that he did the Kingdom Come album, and I don't know if John Paul Jones got up and left or something like that happened. He was just like, "Screw you, man."
I gotta be honest. I love that album.
Yeah,
that first album I absolutely love.
I didn't mind that one song that was a hit. That's the only one I knew.
That album. Look, it's not for everybody. I loved, and I remember I walked in. I was walking in with my friends, and Kingdom Come was playing. And then you had Metallica, and like then Dokken had to follow Metallica.
There you go, bro. That was my next point because I felt so bad for Dokken because Metallica blew them off the stage. It must have been a terrible tour for George Lynch and those guys.
Yeah,
because to follow Metallica, that had to be. It was like it was everybody knew it too. It's like you're kind of like, ooh man, how do you follow that? You know what I mean? It was tough.
I have a story. I don't. Are we gonna have a separate show on the Monsters of Rock? Because I have a story that I could probably save until then.
No, you might as well tell us now, and we'll do a separate show on the Monsters of Rock and tell us again.
I was going there with my friends, and like I remember waking up that morning, and it was sunny, right, Conks? Beautiful day, right?
Oh,
yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, today's the day. Conks, what was it? A Saturday or a Sunday? Was it during the week? No, I don't think it was during the week. I had a job, so I don't think I was during the week. Anyway,
it might have been.
Might have been. All right, so we get there, and I remember a friend of mine. I'm not going to mention any names. A friend of mine was going to drive. Usually, I drove everywhere, right? And I was like, oh, okay, my buddy's going to drive. Great, right? And so my buddy. He didn't really want so we had this arrangement where like he didn't want to get stuck there, for 2 hours trying to get out of the parking lot of like 80,000 people, right? So we kind of had this arrangement that we were going to leave during the encores. I'm like, yeah, I was okay with that. I mean, Van Halen, you know what I mean? At the end of the night, we were going to leave like right before the encores. You know when that was going to happen, right? So I'm like, dude, fine. Beggars can't be choosers. I'm like, fine. Don't worry about it. Great. I agree. I wanted to get home too. I didn't really care about seeing like Ain't Talking About Love or whatever. You know what I mean? So, we go there, we're having a good time, like Conk said, Kingdom Come, Metallica, Dokken, Scorpions. Now it's time for Van Halen. Now, this was the second time I'd ever seen Van Halen. Okay. And I mean, if it was any other band, I wouldn't have gone to, if any other band was headlining, I wouldn't have gone. I don't care. Like, let's say if it was Aerosmith, I wouldn't have gone.
Sure.
So, we're sitting there, and then like I could, like the whole day, I could tell my buddy's sitting next to me, right? And I have a picture from that day. I'll have to send you, Andrew. I'll have to send you a picture of me. You guys, I miss my hair. Oh my hair. So, I remember my buddy, and there's a picture of me and my buddy. This is the guy that I'm talking about, right? There's a picture of me and my buddy and stuff. But like, as the day's progressing, it's a long day, right? As the day's progressing, I can see my buddy. He wasn't drinking or anything, but his mood wasn't going well, right? You could see that. He was, he wasn't as happy. I don't know. So Van Halen comes on. We're like, whoa, and like there's great footage of this show on YouTube, right? From Giant Stadium. And I can't remember exactly, like maybe 3 or 4 songs in. Again, my buddy, right? 3 or 4 songs in, my buddy taps me. He's like, come on, we're out of here. And this is my ride. Okay, now again, remember we talked about leaving, like at the encores, right? I'm seriously like 3 or 4 songs in, my buddy's like, we gotta go. I'm out of here, and I'm like, what? So we kind of had like a little thing. I'm like, dude, what are you kidding me? I go, listen, let's just stay until after the guitar solo. I want to see the guitar solo. You know what I mean? Okay. And
You can't leave that show, dude.
no.
I know, right?
So I'm like worried now, right? I'm like two songs, at the most 3 songs later, gets up and leaves, and I'm sitting there, and like my other friends had like their own car, but there wasn't any room for me, right? So, and I literally had to leave. I left the show early. I'll never forget. I'm walking out. I'm like the mute, and man, I was so pissed that whole ride home. I don't even remember the ride home.
I bet you were probably furious, right?
Yeah. And so when I think of Monsters of Rock, it was like, what happened? You know? And again, like my buddy wasn't drunk or wasted or anything. He just wasn't in a great mood. Wow. Anyway. Yeah. So I remember walking out, like Van Halen's still playing, and I'm trying to reconcile in my head. I am actually walking out of a Van Halen concert. I couldn't believe it.
That makes a change from being chucked out.
Yeah, I've been chucked out.
It was a long day. I remember
it was a long day.
And it was a Sunday, Jimmy. You're right. It was a Sunday.
Yeah.
And I just remember it was a long day because I was just like, oh my God, please, Van Halen, just come on already. Because we were there all day in the hot June sun, you know what I mean? And wide open, no coverage at all. Just like,
yes.
And I know they came on at like 8:20, and it was just like, oh my God, please.
Dude, it's like you've been at the beach all day in the sun drinking, and you're just
totally drained. Exactly.
You're running on empty.
Yeah.
I always thought it was funny when you saw Metallica, like James Hetfield with Eddie and drinking, and I'm like, what do they talk about? I was always curious what Eddie thought of those guys, and I mean, I'm sure, they're all professionals, and I was just always wondering what they were talking, I wonder who drank.
He hung out every night with Eddie.
Because I know James could knock him back. I know we all know
Alcoholica, man, Alcoholica.
Oh, Alcoholica, dude.
I loved And Justice for All era Metallica. I loved it. I saw them twice on that tour. That's another story. But I love that album. I love that tour.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about the Black Album before. I was in some band around the time when the Black Album came out, and these other 2 guys in my band that I'd known, they were so deep into Metallica because of the Black Album. I'm like, you guys don't know about like Master of Puppets and Justice
for All? Kill 'Em All.
This is a new band,
Yeah. Oh, I know. And once they won, once they did Enter Sandman on the MTV Music Awards, that they had kind of reached that pinnacle.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't gonna fucking play Battery on the MTV Music Awards.
I might actually go. My buddy Troy. I think they're playing Friday night in August at MetLife, and he's like, "You want to go?" I'm like, Wolfgang's going to be there opening, and I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I'm like, "Okay." So I might be going like August 4th, I think it is. So I might go to see, whatever, just do something. Yeah.
There's that 12 string we were talking about at the top.
Oh, was it a Schecter?
I don't know. See it up there?
Right there. Look at that headstock. Yeah, it's a 12 string headstock.
Yeah, Randy just sent me this, and also, hold on a second. He sent me another picture too. Let's see.
Speaking of Kingdom Come, obviously being, obviously Zep clones. You know who I was listening to the other day? I hadn't listened to in years, dude. Years. Bonham. Remember Jason Bonham had that song? That one song.
Like one hit. What was that? What was their big hit? Like the one song that was like that we would know.
You or Over You.
Yeah, I have it in my head now. Yeah.
What was the one? Was Kingdom Come on? Who did the song "Wait for You"?
That was Bonham. That was their hit. Yeah, and dude, I mean, I think it sounds more like Zepp than Kingdom Come.
What was Kingdom Come's like hit off that album? Was it that song? I can't remember the name. Was it "Get It On" or something like that?
Get It On, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't like that song, but the rest of that album is fantastic, man.
Oh yeah, and they were playing PRSs back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I remember the Bonham, like the singer, man. He said, God, it was like, Robert Plant's fucking twin brother.
Mhm.
Yeah, he did sound pretty amazing. There's another picture of it. It's next to the sitar. See the all the way over on the one side?
Yeah.
With the third guitar over. You can see the headstock. See how big it is?
Damn. Yeah.
That was the Cabo
That's a
Wabo one.
Telecaster. That's a
Yeah, that's
Telecaster.
Telecaster.
Yeah.
You got it. We think
Yeah.
it was a Schecter though, or something.
I had to look at. I thought I remembered he mentioned Schecter, but it was like, obviously with a 12-string neck.
Yeah, there it is.
Wow.
But I think that might have been the Cabo Wabo guitar. I remember seeing Sammy playing a 12-string Telecaster with like with that weird headstock on it too for something. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was. That was probably the one that Eddie used on the record though, on the song Cabo Wabo. So
Yeah.
Part. But
That was a neat song.
yeah, it was.
You had that whole Cabo Wabo thing. Just ugh.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was good times. Good. I thought OU812 was. I mean, in retrospect, now it's not my favorite of the Sammy era albums, but I threw it on today, and I liked it. I listened to Black and Blue. I love Black and Blue still. It still sounds great,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But
By the way, that's a 600 millisecond delay on that solo.
on
I
Black
remember like when I got my Eventide, I was plugging in those delay times and saving them. I put like Black and Blue and 600, or saving the preset, so I knew, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
So when you get your new digital delay, you'll be programming all those settings in, Les Paul?
Yeah, probably. I've got some of them in my Eventide, and it's kind of cool because now they don't talk to each other. It's kind of cool about this pedal too because they're corresponding. They're 2 and 1, which is great. So one is like preset 1 will be 250. Preset 1 on the other one is 500. So and then if I go to preset 2, it might be like 422 or 424, what he was using at one point. And the other one would be that, corresponding. And then I have a 600 millisecond for Black and Blue. And when Eddie went to some slower or some solos when it was just kind of him, like Human Beings, when he's slowing down, sliding around and stuff. That's like a 600 millisecond. I believe it could be a little bit off there, but I'll put them on. I don't always have to use both. I'll just use one. So
I thought Kenny Wayne Shepherd was blue on black.
Blue on black, yeah.
Blue on black.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah,
And Black
I saw
and
him
Blue.
open for Van Halen in
Couple times, yeah, a couple tours.
was it 95?
Yep. His album Trouble Is celebrated its birthday last year too. Trouble Is 25 years last year.
Wow.
Wow, God.
You remember that when that? But let's just take a slight deviation. So I remember the skinny kid with blonde hair, and then all of a sudden he's on popular radio with this song, and it's bringing blues music back into fashion again.
Yeah.
Pretty important time. Pretty important song and album.
Yeah, it was. I remember it was Kenny Wayne Shepherd. Remember the other guy, Johnny Lang?
Yeah.
Johnny Lang.
No, Johnny Lang. Yeah.
Kenny Wayne was smart though, didn't he? He had like Stevie Ray's Double Trouble was his band, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
He
cool.
got them later on to hang out with them, and got them cranking.
And you know what? And he was, and obviously Eddie liked him. I mean, they had him open twice for them. I guess they got along. He was an easygoing guy, and they enjoyed having him on the tour. So two tours, like that's pretty good. And a little trivia: he's married to Mel Gibson's only daughter.
Correct.
Hmm.
Yep.
Kenny Wayne Shepherd is? Wow.
Yeah, and he's got like 7 kids or something. They have like 7 kids or something like that. Yeah,
Jeez.
Dang, man.
yeah,
He's good practicing. He's a good practicing Catholic.
yeah. Apparently, now he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his story too is pretty interesting because drugs and alcohol as well, and then being straight, getting married.
Yeah.
But still rocking and rolling, Les, which is always important. You don't need to be smashed off your face to be a musician. how many times have we read and heard that in biographies? You know, there was a reference I think Jerry made in the comment to Slash's biography, you know, about James Hetfield. And yeah, go and read that biography. It's one of the greatest biographies. It's honest. Man, it's, I don't know how the guy survived, but came out. He's another guy that came out of the end alive.
Mm-hmm.
Slash almost didn't. Slash was he was wearing one of those defibrillator vests because I think he has a pacemaker in his heart because that's how much he drank. I mean, that's when you get into that. I'm surprised Eddie never got to that. But when you get that, when you have to wear that vest, it's called a defibrillator vest. That's pretty bad. And I guess I watched a documentary recently on Slash, and I guess they told his wife that he's not. I'm just letting you know he's at the end stage and he's gonna die. You know, basically at the time. And then I guess, man, he's lucky because he, you know, I think he does have a pacemaker, but he's completely, you know, the other
didn't
direction.
Slash? I don't know if this is true or not. Didn't he go to Rick Nielsen's house and he got smart with him, and Rick Nielsen like punched him in the face? I heard that. He like said something really, and I think he was drunk when he showed up with somebody. I mean, you know, you hear it. I don't know if it's true or who knows what was. You know, it's been spread around, but yeah, I remember Slash. He was. I mean, don't even start with the other stuff, but yeah, he was just drunk, man.
Yeah, I know. I know. Paul Stanley from Kiss has got it in for Slash because I guess Slash talks crap about them, but I guess they kind of were early on. I think they supported them. I think Paul Stanley knew that they were a great band. I mean, they were.
Yeah, I think Paul Stanley was interviewed to produce Appetite,
right?
And he had a meeting with them, and he was trying to like rewrite their songs, and they're like,
"Oh,
nah."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
didn't
they
do that with another band that we know?
Oh yeah.
Gene Simmons tried to do that with Van Halen too, you know?
No.
Well, Gene Simmons still says that the demo of House of Pain on the demos he did are better than the 1984 version. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's funny because have you guys listened to I guess Kiss was doing the album Love Gun at the time, and Eddie and Alex played on those 3 demos.
Mm-hmm.
And that song Christine 16 that's identical. He made Ace Frehley learn Eddie exactly the solo Eddie played and even the fills, I guess, and record them exactly as Eddie played them. Yeah, if you hear the Eddie version, it's Ace Frehley copied note for note the solo that Eddie made up for that song Christine 16.
I'm not a Kiss fan, so I don't know any of this. I don't. Yeah,
it's funny if you listen to it. It's like it's on YouTube, but it's amazing. It's exactly, it's exact. It's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, those. Thank God Gene Simmons didn't produce Van Halen either, because you listen to those demos and then you listen to what Ted Templeman and Don Landy did, and it's just like it's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Gosh,
I mean, they did the Doobie, Templeman, with the Doobie Brothers. Stuff sounded great.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, awesome, guys. I'm looking at the time, guys. Be time for us to wind down the show. And Les Paul, you're going to come back in a couple of weeks. Come back in a couple of weeks when you get the pedal. Jimmy, will you have yours by then, do you think?
Yeah, that's the other thing. So I bought I was kind of telling that story where Les texted me like 9:15 that he got his, and then I was like, I went, and I didn't go through Sweetwater. I deal with American Musical because they're in New Jersey. So when you buy something from them, you get it the next day without having to do any express shipping. So I use American Musical.
Good.
And I got it through American Musical. And look, I'm in no hurry, but I don't know. I think they said something. I got an email saying that it's back ordered. So I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know. Probably. I'm gonna say maybe July. I don't know.
Oof.
But it doesn't matter to me,
So before we end the show then, gentlemen, do you think this pedal is going to be a game changer? You want to make some predictions?
I think it's going to do very well. I really, even at that price, I think it's going to do well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great pedal. it's a delay pedal. It's cool. I believe it's got eight presets belong to Ed. The first 8, I believe, and then I think the rest of the 92 or that you could store your own preset, which is really cool because you can put your preset delay times from other things, and I think it'll work in most applications. And somebody did their homework on this. Really did.
So there's no way a dummy like me can wipe those presets.
You know what? I don't. That's a good. Probably not. They're probably into the ROM, but yeah, I think it's foolproof. Just change the I mean, the STEs, it looks the same, just like mine. It's all up and down shit. So you got to
they did that on purpose, right? They made it look just like the rack mounted.
The rack mounted. If you want to go, you got to hold it till it gets to 2 seconds.
Oh, the old-fashioned way. The old-fashioned way.
Yeah, it's up or down. Up. I think it's a maximum of 3 seconds delay, in case you really want to go for a real long delay.
And I think, this is Eddie was involved in this. This has been going on that long. It's been going on for like 6 or 7 years, I guess, when they started talking about it, right?
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
So Eddie was definitely involved in this too. Maybe one of the last things he was involved in.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it'll sell. I mean, I ordered mine like right after Les because I wanted to try it, and I have nothing to lose, right? Like if I was telling Les, like if I'm getting it, if I like it, I'm going. If I don't like it, I'm going to send it back, and if I do like it, I'm going to write it off on my band's taxes. So I got nothing to lose, but. And I think it's going to sell great. So I didn't want to get left out on not trying it. But I don't know. Again, I'm playing a little devil's advocate. I don't know how great. How people are going to use it to its full potential. You're going to need wet, dry, wet, 3 cabs. How many people can do that? I don't know. So that's why I'm going to try mine like the other way and see how it goes. I mean,
I'm curious because of that, Jimmy. I'm curious too.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to do another show on it because Ben Tom is in the chat and he's saying, "Thanks, guys. I'll let you know how they compare to the real thing when he gets his." So, so I'm sure a lot of people are going to be getting them. So it'll be nice to find out this stuff. Randy already pointed out that like the DD500 it does have the algorithm for the SD3000, but it's not exact or whatever like that. Maybe this thing is exact. So we'll learn more about that too. Then when they're arriving, people are getting them. So I know that already.
Instead of
one of Les's good friends got it though. I saw a picture, right?
I think Les. I don't think it's ever going to get to Les. From what he told me and how he abused the Sweetwater staff, forget it. He's lost all privileges.
Dude,
I'm joking.
Yeah, I was pretty pissed. This is the one thing. Instead of when people get gas, I got 51.50 of gas. I wish the price on this was 51.50 instead of 600.00. Trust me. Or 1984 would have been a better price.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, and please, anybody out there, please don't do 51.50 on their gas thing. We know you do it on purpose.
No, Les. It's not. That's not it. That's just when the thing pops. That's what.
Yeah. And just magically,
Eddie's there pumping your gas.
Yeah. I was like, and trust me, 19.84 gas is literally twice as cool and twice as cheap. Literally,
you guys are amazing.
And every Van Halen fan out there, we all know that your ATM pin is 5150. So you better not leave that thing laying. You better not leave that laying around anywhere.
Or 1984.
Or 19. That's the second one we try. Okay, if you leave your card laying around,
it's one of the two.
Before we clean out your account and buy some SDE 3000s. Send it to New Zealand for Andrew.
Yeah. If that happens, Andrew, we're gonna send you one.
Yeah, exactly.
Mel's send me a Kemper too, bro.
While we're at it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Look, guys, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. If you're watching on a replay, I'm going to attach to this video all the social media links for John, for Jimmy, and for Les Paul, their Facebook and Instagram accounts. Go and support them over there if you want to keep in touch with what we're doing here on this part of our community. We're not going to do a shout out to the folks in the chat. You guys and girls know exactly who you are. You're always important to us, and it's always really, really great when we go live and you guys are in the chat there commenting. I got to say it again. We're only fans. Johnny, Jim, there's Paul and I. We're just fans hanging out, talking about our experiences and our thoughts. We're not experts on the situation. If you've got any thoughts and opinions that you want to share on the channel here in the comments, please do. We'll come back and supply an answer. But that's it, Jimmy, isn't it? You know, we're just fans, bro.
That's what I always say. You know, best show on YouTube, and you know, I'm surprised people care what. At least, I mean, I'm not surprised people care what Conks wants to say or what Life wants to say. But anyway, so I'm honored to be a part of this. So you know, it's Van Halen, and we got a great community. So you know, bunch of most of those guys in the chat, you know, I know personally. So it's great. Thank you.
And congrats on 10 years too, bro, with your band.
Oh, thanks, dude. Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. I mean,
you know, like I say, bro, that's an achievement because I haven't done 10 months with a band.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Les.
Yeah.
And do me a favor, guys. Get John, get Craig Staffco on here one day.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he wants to be on. He definitely
get
does.
him on, man.
No, I talked to him a couple of days ago. I think he wants to come on, but I think last time I told you that he had some problem with like his microphone or his camera. He can't get it controlled.
He said that.
Yeah,
but we'll check with him and see if he's gotten it fixed, and we'll get him on here.
Yeah,
we've got to get him on. All right, Johnny, do you want to say the last words, and we'll cruise and we'll organise a date for the catch up with us on these pedals?
Absolutely, we'll do that. And everybody go listen to OU812 for 35 years. And thanks for everybody for jumping in here and adding a lot to the show here. The chat's great. I love it. I learn a lot of stuff from everybody in the chat here. I got Randy sending me stuff, texting me. I got Jerry Leica. It's cool, man. It's great stuff. And
amazing.
And also I got Tanner on here too. Tanner's sending me some stuff, man. Incredible stuff that he's working on there. The 1984 stuff. It's killer. So thank you for all that, everybody. And look forward to seeing you soon again. And, you know, talk some more Van Halen. We'll talk about that the next few parts of that documentary too next time.
Yeah, we've got to get Tanner on too when he's finishing off that drum kit that he's working on. Remember, he promised that he was going to come on and talk about that. So I haven't forgotten.
Yeah, you know what? I just got something on there. We'll talk about it. It's
okay.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. We're out of here, gentlemen. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks, everybody.
Cool. See you guys. Be good. Fun time.
Look at that. You better present that again. Look at that.
Sure.